Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you might be. Joined by Milbillie and Dr. Silkman. Hi guys, how's it going?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Excellent.
I'm going well.
Excellent. We must get the obligatory sport done and dusted first of all.
No.
Yeah. Milbillie, how is your Premier League football team been doing? Tottenham Hotspurs. How did they get on over the weekend?
They beat Manchester, but
They beat them 5-1 at their place.
yep.
A huge embarrassment for Man United, I must admit. A huge embarrassment for them because they, Tottenham haven't been doing that great recently, have they? Did they not end up with a 1-1 draw against Newcastle? But to go to Man United and put five past them on their own pitch. Okay. Now then, Dr. Silkman, our newly adopted St Kilda Saints fan. How are the Saints doing?
Well, actually, they won a very close game.
Yeah.
On the weekend against the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah.
And they were ahead by about 4 or 5 goals.
Right.
This is St Kilda, and the Western Bulldogs came right back.
Yeah.
And they lost by under a goal. So I think St Kilda went to sleep, but it was a really good game.
I must admit, I hate to say this, but I did watch the Port versus. Did you say it was Geelong? And I mean, it was a great game. If Geelong, if Hawkins had kicked half of his opportunities, Port wouldn't have gone any further. But they seem to have a game plan against him, and he could hardly take a mark, could he?
Correct. And when he did take a mark, it was towards the flanks, right out of the goal square. So it meant that he had to kick on an angle. And I think he hit the post twice.
He did, didn't he?
One out of bounds, and the rest were all points, which is a shocker.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, and finally, one of the most amazing results of all yesterday, last night, I watched it live. Clicking between Sharon Sunshine's closing video and Sky Sports. Aston Villa put 7 past Liverpool, so it's crazy times.
That'll get a coach sacked.
Well, no, I think Jurgen Klopp is already a hero on Merseyside. So, but I know for a fact that our good friend who comments a lot on videos, DB Cooper, he will be delighted that Ollie Barkley played for Villa, did well, and the fact that he played so well against Liverpool will no doubt put a big smile on his face. So anyway, we're not here really to discuss the sport, but it's and he is hoping that the Packers can if they win tonight, Milbillie, will that be 4 wins on the trot if they win tonight? Yeah. They weren't fancied against the Saints, were they? And yet they went and beat the Saints. So every reason to believe that they could beat the is it the Falcons tonight?
They play later.
Every possibility. So anyway, good luck to the Packers.
Hey, you didn't get that from Mike Hall. You didn't get that from Mike Hallback by any chance, did you?
I didn't actually. No. Do you know I got this from? I got this in Two Rivers in a nice shop in Two Rivers, and it was Two Rivers. It's not a very big place. We went there to a McDonald's. We had a nice McDonald's. We wandered up the sort of main street. I think we found what are those shops? The dollar stores. What are they called, Milbillie?
There's multiple. There's Dollar General. I mean, the Dollar Store, Family Dollar.
Family Dollar, that was it. Family Dollar. We went to Family Dollar and we got some telescopic umbrellas from there because the weather was last rally. It was rather for June, it was pretty cold and windy and horrible. So we enjoyed that. But I must admit, I did enjoy the Wiggly Piggly store. I must admit, I did. But anyway, enough about the Wiggly Piggly stores. Yeah. First of all, I've just shared it with you, and I'm going to share it with everybody else. So be prepared. This is particularly callous and vile. But as I mentioned to you guys, it was noticeable to me. I'm sure. Well, first of all, Dr. Silkman, Milbillie, I'm sure you've come across the comments by both Charles Darwin and Scott Yuck on previous. Yeah, pretty sure it's one of the same person, Ken Kratz. We know that other people have come to this conclusion that Kratz has multiple accounts that he uses, to try and present, his vile thoughts, and particularly the Charles Darwin was interesting for me because, as Charles Darwin, he always tried to be respectful, almost as if he was in court. You could tell he was, he was being polite. Yes. But we know for a fact there is a very vile, callous side to Ken Kratz. A good example being the why do I need a coroner? They just come in and kick the body and say they're dead. Anyway, I'm going to share this with you. I deleted it straight away, but I took a screenshot of it within 2 or 3 hours of doing a live chat with Sharon Sunshine, all about the Ericozy weekend. I had this message show up, so I'm going to show you this. As I said, I deleted it straight away. I delete everything from Scott Yuck anyway. But anyway, here we go. Here is what he wrote. Who died? Lol. Laugh out loud. Anyway, it's for me, it's particularly. It shows the quality of a person, doesn't it? When they write something like that, it shows a certain quality, and for me, I think it reflects the fact that in court, Kratz has to be respectful, but there's a side to him that we've all seen. We've watched Making a Murderer. We know about the sexting scandal. Certainly, I've gone through dozens and dozens of emails. I'm sure you've done the same. We get to see what kind of person Kratz is. I think it's quite clear that this is Kratz. It's interesting as well, though, isn't it? Because when people start to lose the argument, they start to make it personal.
Personal, correct.
And
correct.
As I say, when you look at some of the stuff that I've deleted, I used to keep it, and I thought, no, why? It's worthless. It's of no value whatsoever. What it does for me, it shoots. Ken Kratz is shooting himself in the foot with stuff like that.
Yes, it also shows a lot of disrespect as well.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, a human being, a really good guy, has passed away.
Yeah.
And we need to celebrate his life and his contribution and his effect that he's had on all of us. And for someone to be so crass and vulgar, that's your typical internet troll, unfortunately. And it's more, Milbillie will be able to back me up. It's becoming more prevalent as things are becoming more desperate for the state.
Yes.
People are becoming more personal in their attack, and they're not attacking your work per se, they're attacking you personally.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, not really good, not healthy for the community at all. It's shameful, actually.
Yeah, but knowing the sort of personality that Kratz is, it's hardly surprising, is it?
No, it's not.
Milbillie, any thoughts on any of the guilters that you've had come on and express comments on your channel?
Well, just Charles Darwin, and I had a guilter come into my Discord channel,
right,
and they started trying to state their side of the case,
mm-hmm.
and they ended up leaving my channel because
yeah.
I hit them with so many facts that they had nothing to say.
I must admit, I remember a few years back there was somebody in a commented on a video, and it might have been something by, say, Roberta Glass or something like that, and I just sent them a message and said, you're from Scotland, but you really haven't got a clue about this case. You're saying all this stuff, but you really are so uninformed about it. You really do need to realize blah 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 blah. And the guy was, oh right, yeah, I'm sorry. It's so easy, isn't it, for people on that don't have a great knowledge to jump on the bandwagon. In fact, Milbillie, we hear today, don't we? I was listening to that the beginning of the closing arguments by Dean Strang. And he actually refers to the fact that, that there's nobody apart from Stephen Avery's family, himself and Jerry, nobody else in the world that seems to give Stephen Avery any presumption of innocence. As if, why do we need to give this guy any presumption of innocence? He must be guilty, because we've had these press right from the press conference. That was it. And
how far did you get through it?
I got to, he was talking about the guy with the flyers, about the people who had come to give testimony that were the honest ones, the ones that weren't trying to sell anything, the ones that didn't have a dog in the fight, as it were, the ones that didn't have any vested interest, the ones that hadn't been coached about what to say. So I'm about 40 minutes in.
He goes after Link. Yeah.
Good. Well, I will. I'm going to look forward to following on with the next part of that. Now, I wanted to ask both of your opinions about the timing. Having read through the motion to do with the bones being handed back, the timing. I'm pretty sure that Stephen Avery was denied by the Court of Appeals on August the 24th of 2011. And that meant that on September the 22nd, Miss H, good suggestion, Milbillie, try not to pronounce, it could be Hagopan, it could be Hagopian, or it could be Hagopian. Anyway, whoever she is, she filed for the Supreme Court on the September the 22nd. 2 days previously, we got Fallon, get together, Hawkins, get together, hand over the bones to the wholebacks. And any thoughts on that, guys? The timing of it.
It seems deliberate, for sure. Why would you get rid of scientific evidence that could disprove or prove what you say happened? Because you're lying.
Yeah, the timing can't be a fluke.
No.
It looks like the state got rid of the. Now, mind you, right? Those guys went through all the bags and all the tag evidence numbers, and they even stated that they pulled out the human bones. Okay, that's the important thing, because Sukowicz's response to Zellner was, well, they didn't know what they were taking out. They're not forensic anthropologists. We don't know what bones they took out.
They were using the forensic Dr. Leisenberg's report.
Correct. Correct.
So,
I mean, at some point we'll look at I'll look at the second. There was a couple of supplementary motions that Zellner did. That was in January of 2019. I think there's a supplementary motion in February of 2019. But going by what Sukowicz says, boy, if they wanted to give the Holbachs, bones back that were animal bones, they could have just had a barbecue immediately after Steve was sentenced, and they could have just handed them back, because there was also was there not some debate as to how relevant the quarry bones are, or bones in general, that the state cannot just keep hold of these bones indefinitely. But if that was the case, then they could have handed them back. I mean, this is 4 years later, 4 years after trial, that they're handing these bones back. It just seems, seems to me as if they know perfectly well that they're Teresa's. They're happy to hand them back. Yeah,
that's a possibility.
Yeah, that presumably. I don't know about this one. I forgive my ignorance. I don't know whether it was the Holbachs asking the state, through various people, any chance that we could get these cremains back so that we can, give Teresa a proper burial, or whether it was the state that just said, let's. Stephen Avery has no chance going forward. He's been denied by the Court of Appeals. Well, we've just had news from the Supreme Court. They're not going to even listen to him.
They would have had some case if Fallon wouldn't have been there, but he was there.
Yes.
And he's the one that the state law that you're supposed to save evidence until, like Eric Jose has pointed out in his videos prior, either one, the defendant's deceased.
Yep.
Two, he's found innocent.
Yep. Walks out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that they were supposed to contact, obviously, Stephen through Miss H.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Stephen's not going to agree to the handing back of any bones. No. And then if there was a dispute, from what I gather, it would then go before a judge, and a judge would then decide if these bones could be handed back. It seems to me that Fallon and Garn have circumvented, have bypassed, due process in so many ways, haven't they?
Well, they weren't anticipating for Kathleen Zellner to take his case.
Well, no.
They were assuming he'd be done. He doesn't have any money to get another lawyer. Who's going to really take his case? I mean, he's dealing with public defenders the whole time after his trial. He had public defenders before Dean took it.
Yeah.
And Kratz tried to stop him from getting Dean as his counsel.
Yeah. And also, of course, what do we make of, for me, it's a pretty feeble attempt to try and hide what they've done by not sending Kathleen Zellner's investigator, was it James Kirby, not sending the last 2 pages?
Those pages, correct.
To me, that dare I say, it's actually an embarrassingly feeble way of trying to cover up. If you're trying to cover it up, you'd have thought that they could have done something better. But maybe they really are running around like headless chickens, and they just haven't got a clue how they're going to extricate themselves from this mess.
I think if I could just comment, it goes to show the continual amateurish nature of the entire case from start to finish. And when you think that Fallon should have known better, Garn should have known better regarding the laws of keeping and preservation of biological evidence, you would have thought, I mean, think about it. Those cremains were in tubs, in packets. Yeah. So it's not that they were taking a huge amount of room. So they could have preserved it, or they could have preserved sample bones, right? If they wanted to give back some cremains, look, I could understand a grieving family. A grieving family needs closure, right? When you think about it as a parent or as a person, to know that your loved one cremains are in some storage shelter or whatever, locked away, it's a pretty bad feeling. But having said that, I think Milbillie and you will agree, Paul. First of all, you got to prove that those cremains actually do belong to Teresa Horbach, the victim. You can't just simply say, okay, we've got these cremains here, we're going to get out all the human bones and give them to the Horbach family. See you later. We've done our part. Because in effect, you've done an injustice, not only to the memory of Teresa, but her family, and also to Stephen Avery and his potential, testing of those cremains later on, right?
I've been thinking about, sorry to cut you off, but driving up to the cemetery in Hilbert and on the 31st to see if anybody shows up.
Nobody?
I don't know. I'm going to find out.
Okay. Yep. Yes. I mean, to me, that's more distressing. To be given back, when you read Sukowitz's response, guys, it's pretty embarrassing.
Yes.
When she says that her own officers who took out the so-called human cremains, they didn't know what they were doing because they weren't forensic anthropologists. And so, in effect, she's trying to negate what Kathleen Zellner is saying by saying, hey, listen, you broke your own statutes, you broke your own laws. And Sukowitz was arguing, no, we didn't, because we don't know that they're human, right?
Yeah. So it's more than just the bones. Kathleen Zellner had experts to retest everything.
Yeah.
Correct.
And they probably, she went on live news saying that, we got all these experts. We want to retest everything. And then they prematurely deny her motion.
Correct.
Because they knew once she got one thing, she was going to go to the next thing. And eventually she would have got to them bones.
Correct.
And they would have been like,
Yeah, correct. And that's why, Paul, if you look at our original topic, what the lawyers could have done better in terms of Strang and Buting. Yeah. And we already discussed the fact that they needed experts. And if I could just quote a line from what Dean said, because I listened to the closing statement by Dean Strang that Milbillie kindly put up in his channel. I listened to the whole lot.
So
and there was one line.
Twice.
As soon as I heard it, I fell off my chair because it summed up what we were talking about. And he said, I quote, DNA doesn't tell a story.
No.
People do.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, that's correct. So if you think about the forensic evidence against Stephen, right? You've got blood, you've got DNA here. Well, none of that makes any sense unless you have a scientist, a technician who says, okay, we've got this is what it all means. And then you've got the prosecuting attorneys making a story from it, right? Mm-hmm. And in order to counteract that story, you need also experts on your team to sort of counteract what the state is presenting, right? Unfortunately, the defense did not have that. And when you think about it, guys, right, this case is all circumstantial evidence. It's all based on blood, DNA, and bones, right? And therefore, if you've got the appropriate experts that cover those areas, you can have a counter argument, right? Because what you want to do is create reasonable doubt. And when Dean said that in his closing statement, I thought, oh my God, it's almost as though he knew then and there that he was in trouble, right? Yeah, very, very interesting that he made that comment.
Looking at the sort of case retrospectively, what struck me was the fact that Kathleen Zellner in the January 2019 motion says that there is no precedent here for what the state did in handing back the bones. It's never happened before. This situation has never occurred before. Is that we're looking at the sort of retrospectively, with the benefit of hindsight, how the attorneys are doing. Can you remember when Kathleen Zellner first took on the case? She said, that yes, this won't take long. This will be a very quick thing to stop.
6 months.
Do you think that's a certain naivety, even on the behalf of Kathleen Zellner?
No, not really. The way I think about it, Paul, is that she went to the very best of the best. All of those guys have well-established careers and laboratories and techniques. They were more than happy to do all the experiments, right? So if the state played ball and said, look, we're confident that Stephen Avery is guilty of committing this crime. Here is all the forensic evidence, including the RAV4, right?
Yeah.
And if they were so confident, they had nothing to hide.
Absolutely.
The mere factor that they started giving away biological evidence, it's likely that the RAV4 is crushed and gone. They may have kept panels, they may have just kept the swabs. But you can see what the state is doing is A, blocking Kathleen Zellner at every opportune moment, and B, getting rid of forensic evidence, right? So if the state played ball, her experts would have tested everything. Give it a couple of months and it all would have been done. The mere fact that we're still waiting after several years is indicative that they do not want Kathleen Zellner anywhere near that forensic evidence, although she was able to test a few things, right? But they didn't give her everything. They just gave her a couple of items, which was very interesting.
It was, yes. I mean, so there are some items that have been maintained, and we don't know what happened to the RAV4. It could be that it's been long gone, and all this story about having to get it from a container, which is underground or whatever. It could be, that could be the case. It might not be, but who knows? Sorry, but Milbillie.
Go ahead. Let me pull something up first.
Okay. She's, as I say, I think she's genuinely taken back and aghast at just what kind of corruption she's dealing with here.
She had no idea of the extent.
Yeah.
The depth.
Yeah. Or do you think it's a case of underneath she probably knew perfectly well, but there was a process that had to be gone through that we're in the process of going through?
Yes.
Particularly, for example, because of the fact that the jurors were 72 in favor of Steve, how did it get twisted the other way? Well, that should hopefully we should get a bit more information on that at some point in the future.
Yes. If I could just do a little plug, I did a presentation on 12 Angry Men.
Right.
I called it 12 Angry Jurors. And I overlaid the Brendan Dassey trial using images from 12 Angry Men. And it's amazing what they were saying, pattern matched what happened in Brendan Dassey's trial, right? And it's interesting how when the court started, there was one person who said not guilty, 11 who said guilty. At the end, by using logic and reasoning, that one juror was able to turn around everyone, right? So probably something like that happened in Stephen's case, but in reverse. The majority said not guilty, and in the end, they all had to agree that he was guilty on all charges. So the dynamics of what happened in the chamber will be very interesting to find out.
Yeah. Milbillie, do you know this commentator that just goes by JK?
No, just a clown.
Anybody know anything at all about them? Right. Okay. I'm just gonna remove them. It's, you know, we're here to have a sensible discussion. Some people clearly cannot handle that for whatever reason, but we don't suffer fools gladly on this channel. We never have done. Well, maybe at times I've responded to certain idiots, but there comes a point when
when enough's enough.
Yeah.
Has JK actually asked any questions? Or
No, it just keeps going on about. All right, T1's taking care of it. Thanks, T1. No, it's for now. It could be another Ken Kratz name. You know, it's so typical of trying to sort of distract. You know what everybody's trying to do, and it's, you know,
I think it's going to get worse. I think it's going to get worse as it ramps up. I think the personal attacks, the low blows, just the obnoxious, typical troll behavior is going to increase because you know, we're all waiting for the judge to make a decision or the court to make a decision for Kathleen Zellner. Correct.
What always makes me laugh though is this, that, you know, Jerry famously at the rally last year sent a message to say, look, it's important that we as supporters, you know, we keep shining a light on what's going on in this case. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to be anything that, you know, Dr. Silkman or Milbillie or Paul Capaldi does in a video that's going to have the direct result of freeing Stephen Avery. That's Kathleen Zellner's job, you know. But I think, yeah, we can all come together and just help in our own little way, can't we? You know. And as you say, they're desperate to try and do anything. And when you think that they're desperate to try and sort of divert, distract us, even that shows a level of desperation that you think, wow, you know,
it does. I mean, look. We've had on Foul Play, we've had some great discussions with guilters. In fact, one of the discussions we had were with a forensic. He was an actual forensic scientist, and we had a really good discussion. It was civil, and this was during one of our coffee podcasts. It was a really great discussion. And in the end, you know, he also had questions and he also had doubts. Did we change his mind? No, but he thought about things, right? Yeah. And you can see that, you know, everyone's got an opinion. But I think, and Milbillie will agree, hopefully, that the main reason why there's so much doubt and people are asking so many questions is because the investigation was done in a shocking, biased, amateurish fashion in which, you know, you have Fassbender and Uyghur and detectives on the stand saying, and Buting and Strang are saying, shouldn't you have done this? Yes. Did you do it? No. And the classic is the burn pit, right? Yeah. How can you possibly go over the burn pit and sift cremains without, one, a coroner, two, a forensic anthropologist, and three, in situ photographs, right? So even at worst, if you took some photos, some videos of the sifting, the reason why they didn't do it is because it looks suspicious as hell.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they didn't do it. They thought, boys, this looks fake. So they quickly did the sifting and left.
Yeah. Right? It's interesting you're saying about this sort of this proper scientist that came on to sort of debate with you, and that is is that not one of the saddest things that you've already mentioned, is the fact that you've got experts there to represent the state to try and convict somebody, and you need to counteract that with experts that come forward to try and counteract that, when in fact, you know, dare I say it, scientists should have a scientific opinion, but they shouldn't be leading leaning one way or the other, should they? They should just be put. Look, maybe I'm being naive and idealistic in this, but for me, I think it's a shame that you've got this. It's such an adversarial system, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And we're seeing it in the politics at the moment. Terrible politics.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Whoever has the most specialists, whoever has the most experts is usually going to win, right? Yeah. And when you have a jury, if the jury doesn't understand what DNA is all about, what the forensic evidence is all about, it's very easy to bamboozle. And remember, you've got the scientists and Culhane who did all the forensics. She'll present the data.
Yes.
And people like Fallon, Gunn, and Ken Kratz, they package it as a nice story, right?
Yes.
So whoever can convince the jury will usually win, right? But if you haven't got a strong group of experts to counteract and give an alternative explanation, you're doomed. You're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
And if I could just quickly just recall this little story. The Gilter forensic scientist said, you know what, that blood specialist, he was really good. This is for Kathleen Zellner, because he actually proved that the state got it wrong. The victim wasn't thrown in the back of her RAV. She was actually bludgeoned with a metal, obviously a heavy metal object, and the blood sprayed back on the back door. So he said that, yes, the state definitely got that wrong. And it makes you think, well, what else did the state get wrong, right? Now, remember, they're questioning Brendan Dassey. Brendan Dassey never says, oh, yeah, we bludgeoned Teresa Horbucket, then we threw her in the RAV, and then we got her out of the RAV and put her on the fire pit. So you can see that if you can counteract the story that Ken Kratz came up with, you're weakening the position of the state.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Brendan never talks about any kind of dismemberment, does he?
No. And in Eisenberg's report, and I think Milbillie will back me up on this, there's bones from Yunder burn barrel number 2 that have actually got cut marks.
Yes.
Hesitation cut marks, which meant that someone started to saw and then stopped. Right? And in her report, she describes the bones as being human bones, not possible human bones, but actual human bones. So Yunder burn barrel number 2 was a second definitive location with human cremains in it. But ask yourself this question: why did the state give back the bones? What was the real reason why they gave them back?
Well, that is a very good question, isn't it? I wish I could give you a very good answer to a very good question. I've been asking myself that as well, yeah.
Did they suddenly grow a conscience and thought, oh, we better give these cremains back? Or did they hear wind that Stephen was getting a new attorney? You never know. The other thing, of course, is that they may have been monitoring progress in molecular biology techniques. And if they had heard about the anti-rapid DNA system, which is much more sensitive, they may have panicked and thought, boys, we better get rid of these cremains and not get them tested.
Yeah, maybe it's my cynicism, forgive me for that, but I'm inclined to believe that somebody somewhere, a close friend of Fallon, said, by the way, that's Stephen Avery. He's lost his Court of Appeals, and I'll just give you a heads up. He's not going to get anywhere with the Court of Appeals, with the Supreme Court, and that's when they thought, well, we can now just do what we like with these. We can now hand these bones back. Nobody is ever going to know other than the ones that handed them back. Milbillie, you've got something lined up for us that you want to share, so let me do this and give you the mic, as it were.
If you read CASO or you look at the ledgers, they're going, and where they were storing the RAV4 prior to it be putting it in the container is an unsecured site.
Right.
Right here.
Wow.
They called it Hickory Hill Storage.
Right.
That's not Hickory Hill Storage. That's a private citizen's property that offered them to use their property to store the equipment.
Whoa.
Yeah. Wow.
Just a little tidbit.
Yep.
They lie all the time.
Yes.
Interesting. And sorry, can you on that previous whereabouts is the actual sheriff's department? Were you able to?
Oh yeah, hold on. It's right between Scott's Towing and the sheriff's department.
So that's Calumet.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. This is Chilton in Calumet.
Yep.
Yeah, which is Chilton, I believe, a population of about 10,000.
Sheriff's department's right here.
Right.
There's Scott's Towing.
Right.
And there's where they stored the car.
Right.
That's very interesting.
I don't suppose you know where the courthouse is.
Because I was wondering why.
Yeah.
In the ledgers, they said they were going because there's a Hickory Hill Storage in Madison.
Right.
But it said I left the storage unit and I'm at the sheriff's department, and it was like 10 minutes.
Yes.
I'm like, there's no way they drove from Madison
to
Calumet in 10 minutes. So did some research, and sure enough, yeah, it's on Hickory Hills Road, but it's not an actual storage facility. It's pretty much a farm.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Going back. Thank you very much for that, Milbillie. Going back to Kathleen Zellner. The other thing is to do with this getting the car out, and the fact that all of a sudden, Kathleen's as soon as there was this notion that Tom Fallon put towards Kathleen that we don't need to say anything to the judge, we'll get the stuff scheduled first. Is that a little bit of naivety?
Well, yeah, it didn't turn out too good, did it? So,
well, it makes the state look really bad, doesn't it?
Yes.
The fact that they're doing this. To me, it looks as if possibly the state were being genuine in saying, we need to investigate where the car is so we can get it for you, because they had handed over, what was it 9 pieces of evidence that Kathleen Zellner got eventually?
I think it was only 6.
6, right.
They wanted more, but they only gave them a subset, including a key with no DNA on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the key didn't have anything on it at all. So,
apart from those sort of orange specks under the microscope that was suspected as being, it could have been a source of bleach. Am I right about that?
You mean? Yes, there were specks on the key. I'm not quite sure whether Palanek did any microtrace analysis on it.
Sure.
But the key looked. You're right. The key did look fairly clean. If it was meant to be Teresa Horbach's main key, it looked really suspicious that it was quite clean. And I think it was Tom Pierce that said that she had at least 2 or 3 other keys on her key ring. One for her office, one for her home. None of those have been found. And someone made the comment, a really good comment, and that was, if Stephen Avery got rid of her main keys, why did he keep the sub key if he actually had an end loader to move the RAV4? He didn't need to start it. He didn't need a key, right? So there's a lot of bizarre things going on, that's for sure.
Well, I think
Dean goes over that in his closing arguments. All that.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
He was I know what he was trying to do to the jury. I don't know if they realized what he was trying to do. He was trying to point them in the right direction. All the things he talked about were key.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think what I'm going to suggest is that maybe next Monday, if we're able to get together, get Mark to come and join us, because I can't imagine he's doing much on a Monday night anyway. You know, in his little castle there, and we could maybe go through in a bit more detail to discuss the closing argument, because as I say, I'm not even halfway through. But Mark, if you'd be up for that, then and hopefully if Milbillie, if you're able to join us again, it's great having you. I think that's 3 weeks on the trot, isn't it now? Yeah.
Yes, I think with Dean, it was a lot of an emotional response as well. You could tell that there was a lot of aspiration in his voice.
Yes,
and you know, I think he did a very good job to summarize everything, but he needed to have had a few killer blows, right? Yes, I understand what Milbillie was saying. He was hinting, at potential corruption. His position was very difficult when you're blaming specific police, because that means that you have a mistrust in law enforcement.
They weren't able to accuse anybody else.
Correct.
And Stephen doesn't have motive.
Yes, and that's what Dean said. He goes, why on earth would Stephen do this? Look at the way he behaved, his demeanor. Yeah. Was he doing anything extraordinary? Was he acting normal? Right? But what was funny was that Dean Strang said, well, we could have easily said Bobby Dassey murdered her, and sort of like he then backed away, because he knew Ken Kratz would have said third party liability there, Judge. So he hinted at really the exasperation that he wasn't fully allowed to explore all these different avenues. But just one thing, right?
Yeah.
One thing. Why do you think? Let's assume that the RAV is gone. Why do you think the state would destroy the RAV? What's their motive to destroying the RAV?
Just to sort of sweep everything under the carpet and to be done with it, and just leave Stephen Avery and Brendan just to die in prison. Yes,
but what else would you want to get rid of the RAV for? Why?
Oh well, yeah, because it's got the potential to implicate the real killer.
A23.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep. That's it. Correct.
A13. They could.
Yep.
They got CX. They got DNA from multiple different places, and they don't test it.
Correct. I've never seen a case. Never seen a case where they actually found incriminating forensic evidence on the back door of the murder victim's vehicle and refused to retest it.
The prosecutor telling the Sherry Cohen, I need you to put her in the trailer.
Correct.
Or the garage. Or the garage, yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
So they're terrified that her scientists are going to find other genomic profiles in or around, inside or outside of that RAV that don't belong to Stephen or Brendan, but are pointing a finger potentially to somebody else, right? So now with CODIS, they could run those profiles through the criminal database, right?
Not even CODIS. Look what they did with the Golden State Killer. They used the ancestry thing to generate. It's happened again.
Correct.
Another unsolved murder. They used the DNA they got from the crime scene and put it to that genealogy. They got a computer diagram of the person that might have been responsible, and then they found the DNA sequence, found the people, and sure enough, they were 100% right. And the photo looked just like the guy.
Yes. So what Milbillie's saying is, you actually don't need to know who A23 is. you can find out through indirect means. So if family members have supplied DNA, you can look at the degree of match, right? And say, oh my God, the A23 belongs to this side or this particular family. Let's have a look at the particular members. And then you can see degree of match, right? And that way you see, that's how people determine whether they've got an unknown sibling or a cousin through DNA Ancestry.com, right? People are all giving up their DNA. Well, it goes into a data bank, right? So that's how they found the Golden State Killer. He left the sample, they tested it, bang, that's him.
Just think if when everybody was born, they took everybody's DNA and put it in the bank. Now you did something, you busted right away. Yes.
Although you got to be careful because there's potential for abuse too.
Yeah.
But the irony is, of course, in 2003 when they put the DNA sample, when Culhane put the DNA sample into CODIS, and Gregory Allen came up. Yeah. Well, imagine to their surprise who would have come up with A23, right? So. It is staggering that you have a third genomic DNA profile on the back door as blood, the door that you have to open to put a victim in the back of the car. And Culhane goes, no, don't know anything about it, haven't re-extracted it. Oh, by the way, it's not Brendan and it's not Stephen. It couldn't have been Teresa Hallbach either. Otherwise, they would have said it, right? Because you can tell by the alleles whether there's a match or a mismatch. So here we have a third genomic DNA profile and no one has done anything about it. It's completely mind-blowing. So that's why I don't want to give back the Rav, because her experts will come in and swab everywhere, right? And have a look. Who's touched the car? Who's been in the car? Who's been out of the car, right? And they don't want to do that. That's why they gave away the bones as well. Because, Paul, Milbillie, is it one victim? Is it two? We're not sure. So therefore, give away everything. Don't test anything, which is a real travesty. A travesty.
Yep. Anyway, I'm going to go and listen to the rest of the closing argument by Dean. Milbillie, do we get to hear from Jerry at all in closing argument, or was it just Dean?
Kratz interrupts.
All right.
That's about it. It's just Jerry.
And if we could, if timings allow.
Kratz interrupts because Dean brings us something that Jerry Budian had already talked about, and he was like, "Oh, I don't." You'll hear it.
Yeah. So hopefully, if we can all get together next Monday, maybe if Mark's available, and we can all go and have a listen to this, because this is interesting, because it's about an hour and 20 minutes. It would have filled an episode and a half of Making a Murderer, but you feel as if it is very, very important, because it's basically, am I right in saying it summarizes Dean's and Jerry's, for want of a better word, investigation into what's happened.
Yeah.
Or what they were allowed to do.
And do you think I was also getting a little hint of the fact that Kratz presumably is having to react to what Dean is saying in his closing arguments. He's going to have to sort of try and counteract everything that Dean says.
That's why he said, forget about the key. So I'm not even spend 20 seconds on them bones.
On the bones, yeah. I kind of says, listen, guys.
All the key points that Dean was raising, he brushed off like it was nothing.
Correct.
Listen, guys, Milbillie, hopefully Spurs will continue their revival. Hopefully Villa will it'll not be a flash in the pan. Hopefully our adopted St Kilda fan will have some other great news next week. In the meantime, I shall have listened to the closing arguments, and I've got a little bit more to do about the Zellner motions. So until next week, we'll catch you then. So I'll just let you say your fond goodbyes, and we'll catch you again soon. Milbillie?
Later.
Thank you so much, guys. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.